I have my opinions, and some of them might be right, some of them might be wrong. The truth might be more mysterious than any of us have any idea of. And so for me, this is like the meta issue that underlies all other issues, the issue of polarization and what needs to be sacrificed to discover truth.
Ironically, the demonization, the dehumanization, the reduction of another group of human beings to less than fully human status, that actually is the root of racism.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's the basic pattern of racism. So to take that technique and apply it as an implement of war toward those who we consider to be the perpetuators of institutional racism or something like that, like that fighting technique, which is universal in war making. You dehumanize the enemy. You almost have to in order to kill the enemy. From the World War I Germans eating babies to the Saddam soldiers tossing babies out of incubators in Kuwait. The same basic propaganda pattern is common in all wars in modern times, and a somewhat tamped down version of that is routinely applied to opposing political groups. That whole mindset, that whole strategy is part and parcel of the racist mind. The basic underlying pattern of racism and misogyny and homophobia and xenophobia, et cetera, it's all the same basic pattern, which is the reduction of a human being to something a little less than human. And if we wield that method, that tactic in our battles for justice, we're actually strengthening the underlying field of dehumanization that gives birth to racism, et cetera, in the first place. So, because sometimes people interpret what I'm saying as, oh, well, easy for you to say, but, if you were one of the oppressed, you might be lashing out too. I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying that someone is wrong or bad for doing that. But what I'm saying is that you're getting tricked. If your righteous anger is diverted onto false targets that are not the real cause of the problem, then you are perpetuating the problem. And rather than serving victory here, rather than seeking the defeat of those that we've held as the bad guys, what if we actually serve healing? What is most important to us? Is it victory or is it healing? And sometimes victory and healing can be in alignment. Quite often that happens. But sometimes they are not in alignment, especially if you are not right about everything. And if you are not 100% the good guy, and if there's maybe a little bit of delusion, a little bit of blind spot, a little bit of selfish ego motivation within yourself, then if you do win victory, you stamp those things upon the world. Therefore, it is necessary to humble ourselves to another God, another God besides the God of victory. And I would say that is the God of healing or the God of justice.
So, again, it's not like there are some good people and some bad people, and let's figure out who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. The healing doesn't come from saying, oh, actually, it's the felons and the convicts and those were actually the good guys all along, and those who judge them are the bad guys. That's just the same wine in an old skin, or whatever that metaphor is. It's really to see the world with different eyes, to understand that we're all really the same being, looking at the world from different eyes, governed. It's not that we have no choice. It's not that we are slaves to our circumstances or to our past, because we see people transcending, we see them healing. But to think that any one of us is by nature in our soul better than somebody else is a delusion. And if we operate our society, especially a criminal so-called justice system, on that delusion, we are going to create more and more and more suffering. So for me, this is just about like accurately perceiving other people.
If, in fact, the problem with the world were bad people, then we know what to do. We tear them down, we conquer them, we dominate them, we destroy them, we kill them, we imprison them. Boy, that sounds familiar already, doesn't it? This is kind of the way that society's running right now. If we understand that, and this is the basic tenet of compassion, if we understand that, gosh, if I were in the totality of that person's circumstances, I would probably do the same thing. If I were born into the generational trauma that may have been present in the Trump family, if I had had the father and the mother and the environment that he had, if I had grown up in the way he did, do I really know that I wouldn't do the same things that he's doing? Do I know that for sure? And if I believe that I would, what am I actually saying here? I'm saying I'm just made of better stuff than he is. That is a kind of elitism that mirrors more traditional forms of elitism, social elitism, and that makes a lot of activists, attracts a lot of opposition to activists. Like people can sniff it out, that kind of superiority.
So if we can hold a story of ourselves and each other of reverence, of knowing that you are a glorious being, doing the best you can in these circumstances to express your true nature, which is to be a gift to the world, then we will be like always bursting with the desire to act on that. And every little opportunity that comes, the message is simply recognize the part of you that knows that that is why you are here. Just recognize that part. Give that part attention. That attention is food for that aspect of yourself. And if you just give it attention, appreciate it, there it is. I am here for that. Then it's like watering a plant. It'll grow and it will, without you having to force yourself or condemn yourself or congratulate yourself when you do it, it will be expressed. And so I would just say, know that what I am saying is true and feel your gift nature. And that's an incredible start.
I mean, I know this in my own life, like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wanted to be a big shot. I wanted to be a respected thinker, And now I'm at a phase of like, who cares? No matter how big a shot I become and how respected I am, someday I'm going to die. And everyone will forget me. The only thing that can live beyond me is what I give to the world, because it's no longer in me. I've given it away. That survives me. It's like maybe through the hero phase, building up, and then after that, sending out until there's nothing left, until the world has been saturated with me. And there's nothing left because I've become the world. I've given everything that I'm meant to give. And from the perspective of the separate self, that means I've been extinguished. But from the perspective of interbeing, it means that I have merged with who I truly am.